And in the season finale, Hassan's plan for the concert that night has been weeks in the making. It started with Ben and Hassan sneaking another drone into Pellegrini's place where they were able to get the name of his financial advisor. His financial advisor is the guy who Hassan was able to retrieve the briefcase of. The guy who knocked into him was actually Ben. They realized that they needed to get the information in that briefcase. So Ben knocked into him, stole it, ran to his car, downloaded all the information, and then Hassan brought it back. Now with Pellegrini's financial information, Hassan realized they need an accomplice. And they need an accomplice who's like-minded. So they head to the library and stake out the Lupin section. And it takes a while, but eventually they find their guy. Because to the trained Lupin eye, it's pretty clear that Hassan is not actually reading the book, and the book that Ben's reading is upside down. They get that person. It's a gothic-looking kid, but he nails the test. They ask him if he wants to be a part of what they're doing, and he says, okay. So the first thing they have to do is give him a whole new look. So they create a new identity for this guy. He's going to be a financial expert who's going to worm his way into Pellegrini's inner circle by promising risky financial practices for high returns. In return, he's going to get a diamond now and a bigger diamond when the job is done. That person ended up being Philip. The next step is to play Lucas, the financial manager that Pellegrini already has. Hassan calls him up pretending to be a guy from Brussels, telling Lucas that there's some hotshot analyst out there who's trying to steal his clients, and he wanted to warn him. He tells him the name is Philip Corbet and to watch out for him. But Lucas is someone who clearly doesn't know his clientele because he calls up Pellegrini and tells him to be on the lookout for this guy who does risky maneuvers, but they always end up working out. The fact that they always end up working out for big returns is all that Pellegrini hears. He ends up getting the name from Lucas and end up calling Philip in. Philip gets brought in, and there's a wolf in the henhouse. Now it's the matter of actually getting into the concert because Hassan is still wanted for murder after all. But with Philip on the inside, that's not going to be an issue. Philip has Pellegrini and his men wheel a bunch of huge crates in, and one of those crates has Hassan in it. Ben actually ends up helping with this. So both Ben and Philip end up wheeling Hassan in under the guise that it's all computer technology, hardware that will be used to accept the donations for the concert. They do end up getting stopped by Dumont, but Philip talks him out of actually searching every single crate. As Hassan was sneaking in, Sophia was getting word back from forensics that Hassan did not murder Leonard. It's pretty clear to forensics that Leonard was strangled from behind, and the boot size doesn't match Hassan's. So he's not their guy. After she gets off the phone with forensics, that's when Youssef shows her the video that he discovered of Dumont admitting to everything. Youssef and Sophia get the police captain in the room, and Youssef goes over the entire scenario that he's figured out. Everything that's happened. How Dumont's dirty, how Leonard was accused to kill Babacar Diop, how Dumont has been covering it up, how Dumont is in Pellegrini's pocket, the whole nine. So when it comes time for the concert, all the guests show up, but so do the police captain, Youssef, and Sophia. And they're just waiting for Dumont to make some kind of move. While the guests are filing in, Philip, Ben, and Hassan hide off in a room overlooking everything. Philip has the computers ready to go to accept all the donations. And of course, Pellegrini thinks that 85% of the donations are going to go right into his bank account. But he's mistaken. Pellegrini makes his way to his seat, and Juliet takes the stage to welcome everybody and ask them to be generous for this foundation. The concert kicks off, and donations start flying into the computer system. Philip is watching the number tick up and up and up. But as the orchestra plays on, Hassan makes his way to Pellegrini's private box. He sneaks in and puts a knife to Pellegrini's throat. It takes a little bit, but Hassan is able to get Pellegrini to admit to everything. Why he framed his father, kidnapping his son, Leonard killing Fabian on his behest, and that Pascal ended up killing Leonard. But Pellegrini starts mocking him with the fact that the truth isn't going to get him anything, no one's going to believe him, and he's never going to make it out of the concert hall alive. Hassan gets pretty close to actually cutting Pellegrini's throat, but he ends up fleeing, and as soon as he leaves his private box, Pellegrini yells, "There he is, there's Hassan Diop, get him." And it leaves Hassan running for his life. Hassan starts running throughout the building. A few times he almost gets caught, but he's able to evade them. Pellegrini's men end up tipping off Dumont that Hassan is in the building. So Dumont ends up leaving and telling the police, he's in there somewhere, go find him. But Pascal has actually located him and cornered him. It's in a dressing room, and Pascal and Hassan start getting into it. Both men throwing haymakers at the other. Eventually, though, Hassan ends up knocking Pascal out and locking him in a closet. As Hassan starts making his way to the stage, he's stopped by Dumont at gunpoint. But as Dumont is ordering him to get on his knees, the police captain, Sophia, and Youssef are right behind him, telling Dumont to get down because he's under arrest. Sophia also orders Hassan to stay where he is, but Yusef convinces her to just let him go. Dumont is taken into custody, and Hassan takes the stage. As he does so, a picture of Hassan and his dad end up going up on the big screen right behind the orchestra. Everybody is shocked that Hassan is taking the stage because he's still wanted for murder. He announces to everybody that Hubert Pellegrini falsely accused his father of stealing that necklace, but he didn't do it. He also says that Pellegrini ordered to have his father murdered, as well as Fabian. He then tells the audience that Pellegrini stooped so low to kidnap his own son. As he's saying this, though, police are converging in on the stage so that he has nowhere to go. Right before the police end up coming on stage, he does turn to Juliet and say, "Juliet, your father stole from you. Everybody, the money that you donated tonight, Hubert Pellegrini tried to embezzle it." The police then head on stage to stop Hassan. Hassan puts his arms up to give himself up, and that's when Ben hits the lights and no one can see anything, and there's pure panic in the auditorium. Everybody starts making their way out as fast as possible. Right before he leaves, Philip ends up transferring all the money to another bank account. Then he meets up with Ben, and the two head off. Hassan had stored a disguise away in the room that they were using to collect donations. So he puts that disguise on, and he's able to actually walk right out of the building, past the police, undetected. Or at least, so he thought. He does end up getting caught, but ends up fleeing from the police and hopping in a boat that was waiting for him and driving away. Before he fled the scene, though, he sent Yusef a message because while he had Pellegrini at knife point, his watch was actually recording the entire interaction, and he sends that audio to Yusef. So when Yusef hears it, he's got Pellegrini dead to rights. So the police end up arresting Hubert Pellegrini as well as Dumont, and they both get taken away. After a job well done, Ben ends up giving Philip the rest of his diamonds that he's owed. But right before they take off, Philip turns to Ben and says, "I don't get it. If Hassan wanted to get revenge on Pellegrini, why did he just give him all that money?" And Ben tells him that account isn't Pellegrini's. That account is the Foundation's. All the money that was collected is going to the place that people thought it was. Hassan, though, knows he needs to leave town. But before he does, he has to say goodbye to a few people. When Hassan had collected the bracelet off of Claire's arm, he left a device that started going off. And when Claire found it, there was a message on it. Raul was able to figure it out that Hassan wanted them to meet at a bridge. Sure enough, when they show up, Hassan drives under, parks the boat, and heads up top. Hassan gives them a big hug, and Claire asks, "Is it finished?" And Hassan says, "Yeah, it's all over. But you were right the whole time. I caused way too much trouble with you guys. I need to leave. For you." Claire is begging him not to go, but his mind's made up. He gives them one last hug, tells them he loves them, and says, "I'll be back." And then Hassan Diop ends up escaping before the police can get him. And that is the end of Season 2 of Lupin, or Chapter 2, whatever they're calling it. Anyway, yeah, that's the end of the season. Thank you so much for watching this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel. If you liked it, there's a thumbs up button for that. If you thought it sucked, there's a thumbs up button for that as well. I try not to read the comments because nasty comments make me feel bad. So if you're about to type one out, that's what the thumbs down button's for. Smash it. Smash it hard. I have merch. Buy a mug. Buy a sticker. I have bills to pay. I would like to pay those bills. Merch helps with that. I'll see you guys for Season 3. And once again, thank you so much for watching.